mainly because colleges, I'm sure that the Dean of Harvard might be pretty racist, but I'm pretty sure that most college boards who accept students in aren't completely, you know, racist bigots who don't want a certain race in. I think the purpose for affirmative action is to keep the image of the college good looking, you know? Because they're going to get a lot of crap if they have all white people, or they're going to get a lot of crap if they have all black people. It works both ways. So the reason they have one of the reasons they might have affirmative action is to balance out the races and not necessarily have you know, an overflow of one race, and just keep the image to look good.
Okay, so here's what you guys are saying, is that by doing affirmative action, saying you have to have this many people of this ethnicity or race or whatever, that's giving equal opportunity. No, there's a system in place called equal opportunity, where you say just because you're black, just because you're Mexican, just because you're Indian, just because you're Pakistani, we're not going to look at that. We're going to look at what your qualifications are. That's not affirmative action. It's called equal opportunity, and it is much more fair because it means, yeah, if the person who is best for the job or for admission is white, okay, whatever. If the person is black, whatever. If they're Indian, whatever. If wherever they come from and whatever backgrounds they have, it's going to be the person who most deserves it, not the person who can claim the race card if they're denied.
Just to throw it out to you. One, you know, especially in California, we are very, very diverse. So my question for you is, do you think that people being of multi-ethnic backgrounds will use it to their advantage? Like, you know, my daughters are an eighth Native American. Well, if that would have helped them get into college, darn skippy, they're going to say, yeah, we're Native American. How much blood of something do you need before you're considered to be that race? And we are becoming more and more, many of us are multiracial. It's like, you know, so that. And then another thing, the argument for colleges, and that's what I'm most interested in because it affects you guys, is some colleges, they think that there is value in having, you know, a campus that is, you know, this percent white, this percent Hispanic, this percent African American, and yada, yada, yada. So to achieve that magical number, you know, there are different criteria for enrollment. Like, you know, let me use Asians. Let's just say Asians, usually at this school, they outscore everybody. So Asians, their score, let's say you want 100 Asians, they must score to be in the top 100 Asians, you have to be up here. But if you're something else, maybe we need 40 of this other group. Well, your score is to be the top 40. Why do you guys feel if their top 40 are lower than all 100 Asians? And then what if you're the 101st Asian? And you don't get in because we need 40 of this. Just think about that. Just think about that. That's it.
All right, I'm going to touch back on what Ms. Cooley said about most people being multi-ethnic. I myself am multi-ethnical, my dad coming from a Hispanic side, and my mom being more white. I take pride in that myself, but if I'm going for a job or trying to get into college somewhere, I don't want to be chosen just because, oh, he meets part of our quota. I want to be chosen because I'm superior than somebody else. I worked to get where I am. Sorry, that kind of sounded real bad. But, yeah, pretty much I want to know that my hard work got me where I am, not just because of the color of my skin or the little box I checked off that said I'm Hispanic.
Okay, well, one of the main problems with affirmative action is the fact, you know what I think that could actually help in solving it, is by actually removing the federal law that actually requires to state what race you are, or in the Common App what religion you are. This is probably the biggest problem, because if we didn't have to fill that out, they wouldn't be able to base it off of like your certain race.
I'm Jake, and I'm in 11th grade. Basically, affirmative action is reverse discrimination, which means that they're trying not to discriminate on minorities, but in turn, they're accidentally, if you want to call it that, discriminating on the majority. So, the affirmative action was designed to make it more fair for minorities that don't have the same opportunities because of financial situations, just as Representative Byung said. But really, if we made the education system, not college, but high school, junior high, and elementary school, more fair to the minorities and the majority, no matter what the financial situation is and what economic class there is, then we wouldn't need affirmative action in the first place.
Okay. You guys are all thinking it's just a bunch of white people getting kicked out of college. That is not true. Okay, if I want to go to UCI, suddenly my option, I can't go to UCI. Why? Because there's a lot of Asians at UCI. I'm not going to get into UCI. Also, what Jake said about reverse racism, let me clarify that point. Let's take Matt, for example, over there. Matt is Hispanic, okay? And you're thinking, I want a certain number of Hispanics in my school. So Matt, let's say, gets into Harvard. Now people look at him and they go, okay, that kid just got into Harvard because he's some Mexican, even though he's Puerto Rican, by the way. And he's like, oh, that's some Mexican who just got into Harvard because they're all like, they want more Mexicans. That's not the fact. And that's the problem with affirmative action. It has a good intent, but all it's doing is facilitating more racism under the assumption that these people need help to get into these higher level colleges or jobs, etc. That's a major problem with affirmative action.
I think that like affirmative action was like originally made for a good thing because yes, minorities were not given jobs or not accepted in colleges because they were a minority. But now, just like he had said, it's reverse racism, and not just for white people. Like, with your example about UCI, like, yeah, you may not be able to get into UCI because there's a lot of Asians, but like, there are other colleges that won't let you in, and it's not based off just equality. Sure, everyone has an equal spot, but it turns into not equalness when there's a certain status quo. What happens when all of the African Americans got into college, but there's one other person who's African American and wants to go in that college but can't make it because that status quo is already reached? It's equal, but somehow along the years it all got messed up.
I'm Taylor. Yeah, I agree with Jordan that affirmative action was, when it was put into place, it was a good idea and it was probably the only way at the time to solve the race problem. But that was in like the 1960s and 70s, and I believe that we've moved past that. Sure, there's still racism in our world. There is always going to be, but I believe that affirmative action doesn't work anymore and it's outdated. So if we want to have something in place that will ensure equality, then it needs to be changed.
I think you guys need to know that California doesn't have an affirmative action policy, so I don't know why you guys are saying that, oh, you might not get into UCI because you're white or Asian. California does not have an affirmative action policy, and I think legislation was just passed to recently overturn that, but I'm not sure about that. And so how would you, you guys all have good points, but how would you try to lessen the socioeconomic barriers existing between the different races then? Like, how would you help this certain race get to the same status as Asians or white people? And a lot of you were saying that that kind of racism doesn't exist today, that all the races are on an equal playing field, but that's not true at all. We can see in all different kinds of statistics that Caucasians and Asians have higher test scores, get into better colleges than African Americans or Latinos or whatever. So how would you, what would you guys suggest to kind of lessen the barriers between the two, the different kinds of races then? If you guys disagree with affirmative action.
Hey guys, my name's Anthony, and I'd just like to bring up that, yes, Mayeen said it's a policy, so it's not like it's a federal law that every company, every school is forced to, you need to have, your population of school needs to be 25% black, 25% Asian, 25% Mexican, so on. So it's not based on that. It's a simple policy, and I don't even think it's based on a quota. I've read somewhere that it says that they are suggested to pick the minority over the majority, which in this case happens to be Caucasian. So they are saying, it's probably better for the outlook on the company to hire a gay or a black instead of, a white male. Secondly, I believe it was brought up by Taylor that it's kind of affirmative action is outdated when really it's probably needed more than ever because we have such a big melting pot of cultures now than we did in the 1960s and 70s. You know, we have so many different blends of cultures, different ethnicities that are mixed with other ethnicities to where now, you know, like Ms. Cooley said, you know, kids who like might look white, might be black or Mexican or Chinese, you never know. So in order to preserve these kind of rights that these ethnicities have that have been mixed over the last couple of decades, affirmative action is needed in order to weed out any sort of discrimination held against these races.
I'll speak myself now. Okay, so let's think about 1970s. They said that 1980s was going to be the worst year possible. The crime rates were just on the rise, and they were going to probably create a combusting United States of America. That's what a journalist and economist from Harvard University said, until proven wrong in the recent years after 1980s. The reason being because in the 1960s abortion, one lady fought for abortion and abortion was legalized, and therefore dropped the crime rates down because the kids that had those terrible lives no longer need to commit those crimes. Now you guys are asking, why am I relating abortion to affirmative action? Let's look at our presidents. White, 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 black. How did this happen?
To add on to his point, in the Fortune 500 companies, 6 are African American, 5 are Hispanic. Think about that. Go ahead.
Okay, going back to my point, along with affirmative action, what it does, it creates a blend. What we're going to start seeing is in our Fortune 500s, more diversity, more people, more ethnicities coming in because it's given this equal opportunity, which falls under the Equal Opportunity Clause, which was established, I think, 1970s. Equal opportunity for everyone, therefore creating the Fortune 500s, diversifying our group. This is what Stanford University does. They base it off of diversity. They want people, 10 people from Hong Kong, 10 people from Pakistan, 10 people from America, 10 people from different countries, different states, and then they have a diverse group so that we wouldn't have to deal with those crappy political leaders that are on the top right now who are taking all our money, taxing us for who knows what. Because we're going to have diversity, we're going to have different mindsets, we're going to have different cultures, we're going to have different third world country people coming into one country, working for the better. The thing is, you guys are all being peevish and thinking about that one affirmative action just for colleges. Now think what happens after you go into college. You guys get the same equal education because you guys are going to try just as hard. No one's qualified. I mean, they're going to be equally qualified and make it to the end. And when they make it to the end, they're all going to spread out into different businesses, different Fortune 500 companies, and then diversify our economy in our United States of America, and then we wouldn't have to deal with our crappy politicians anymore.